February 14th, Valentine's Day. That date will forever be engraved in my mind as the day I first felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. I couldn't forget the way my legs couldn't withstand my weight and kept trembling violently. The chocolate gift basket I had purchased minutes earlier fell out of my hands and crashed against the hardwood floor, the small chocolate pieces scattered across. I was standing in our bedroom door frame, appalled. The blood on my face had completely disappeared, and I was as pale as death. There was this sensation in my stomach, I still can't explain it. I felt sick, I felt like throwing up due to the emotional pain. I clenched my stomach tightly. There he was, the man I had loved for years. He was in our bed with his favorite college student, a petite girl, her raven black hair braided. She was on top, smiling as she pleased the only person I truly cared about. Michael was rolling his eyes back, squeezing her ass tightly. They neither heard nor saw me come in, they were too busy doing their own thing. It felt like I was watching the scene for an hour, that is until Michael's eyes wandered off. We locked eyes for a moment, and I will never forget the sheer panic on his face when he realized I was witnessing it all. He immediately shoved the small girl off of him. She shrieked a bit because of the shock and landed on her side, covering herself with the white sheets when she realized she was being watched.
Chloe?
Tears immediately filled my eyes as I slammed the door behind him, running away from him as fast as I could. I could hear him desperately calling my name behind me. His footsteps were loud and nearby, but he missed me completely. Confrontation was not an option for me at that point. I had to leave as soon as possible.
Chloe! Wait! Please!
I got into my white car the moment he opened the front door to our house. I was already exiting the driveway, and for a split second, our eyes locked again, except this time it was a defeated look. We both knew it was the end, there was no turning back, and there were no possible excuses this time. I guess you can say both our hearts were broken. He had lost the only woman who ever cared about him due to his lustful desires. His own actions caused this. When I finally reached my friend's house on the other side of town, I burst into tears. I laid my head down on my steering wheel, sobbing loudly. All I could ask myself was why? Why did he throw away 10 years for a single moment with this 20-year-old college student? Why did he do it on the same bed we made love in? Why did he decide to risk everything, his job, his girlfriend, his life? Just for her? There was a point where I couldn't keep crying even if I had wanted to. It was as if I had no tears left. I was physically and emotionally exhausted, but my heart kept racing at the same rate. I was hesitant to ring my best friend Emma's door at first. She had told me from the minute I laid eyes on Michael, my now ex, that she didn't like him. Emma spent 10 years straight staring at him with nasty looks every time he said something. She kept insinuating that Michael was dishonest and would eventually hurt me. I got into a huge argument with her at one point. I remember yelling at her to keep out of my personal life, and that Michael had never done anything to me. Her defense was that she had a special sense and gift and could tell immediately when someone was dishonest and sketchy, and that it had never failed her before. We had a fallout for a while, but we ended up getting our friendship back together. She never really commented much on our relationship after that, but I could still tell that Michael rubbed her the wrong way. Those cries and insults replayed in my mind for a moment as I hid my face between my hands. I knew she was going to remind me that she had always been right, that I should have never doubted her, and that Michael had been probably cheating on me from the start. I don't remember exactly when I got out of the car and rang her doorbell. I just remember her opening the door with a concerned expression on her face. I broke down in tears again, falling against her as she held me in support. I don't think she fully understood what was going on since it was difficult to speak while sobbing, but she got the gist of it. Michael, I don't know, Emma, I don't know why, what? What did I do? It's over. As soon as she heard Michael's name, she knew that her suspicions were correct. Her gut instincts never failed her before, it was only a matter of time. Emma had no idea what exactly happened, all she knew was that I was extremely upset over something Michael did. Emma had always been my best friend. We met when I first moved to New York City in hopes of finding a new life. That was almost 5 years ago. Her mother was well known in the area, she was a very successful lawyer and had incredibly rich clients, and everyone looked up to her. Her father was a stay-at-home dad, such an adorable man. They were the perfect couple, and she was their perfect daughter. They didn't want Emma hanging out with me, I was a small stain on their perfect reputation. Who would want to associate with a low-class girl, especially one with a single mother? They did everything in their power to try and convince Emma that she was better off with those of her own kind, but Emma never budged. Despite the fact that she grew up in a relatively high-lifestyle home, having most things other kids like me only dreamed of having, she never let that get in the way of her feelings. We still hung out together, and her parents eventually accepted the fact that we were, in a way, soulmates. That girl. I just know I've seen her before. She worked at Sephora with you, right? I asked as Emma passed the cup of tea she had just prepared for me. I was laying on her sofa, my eyes were completely covered in dried tears. Emma sat down across from me, on her own couch. She passed her blonde hair behind her shoulder, breathing in deeply. She spun the spoon in her teacup around, diluting the sugar she had poured onto her own cup of green tea. Emma had worked as a Sephora manager at the local store for years, that is, until she decided to quit and work in a PR and management company in downtown New York City. She said it was her calling, following her mother's footprints. It was a much less stressful job for her, so you could tell she was much happier, and she got to meet lots of famous artists. Emma looked up. Small girl with long black hair? A student at Mayfield University? Sounds like Jennifer, yeah. Emma admitted. Did she even know about me? I stuttered. I tried to think about the possibility of Jennifer not knowing Michael had a girlfriend, that she was just a young girl swooned by an older man. I wanted to have some faith in her, I wanted to believe that her intentions were not harmful. She was a woman, just like me, there was no way she could have done that knowing she was destroying a relationship. I tried my hardest to convince myself that it was all an accident. However, Emma looked away from me and pursed her lips, a clear indication that she was trying to hide the hurtful truth from me. She kept spinning the teaspoon. I know that look, don't hide it. I pointed out. Okay. Look, I haven't worked at Sephora in like a year or so. All I can say is that you were at Sephora with Michael once to visit me, Jennifer was there as well. Jennifer is also Michael's student in the class, so, she explained, sipping her tea slowly from time to time. I frowned slightly, looking at the pink liquid in my cup. So, that means that she knew? Emma interrupted, sipping from her cup. She saw you two at Sephora that day and she's been attending Michael's classes since she turned 18. I don't want to say for sure that she knew, but she has to be pretty fucking clueless to not realize. I hid my face behind the palm of my hands. I was completely destroyed, my world was completely in shambles. The feeling of betrayal ran through my body, and I was just waiting for Emma to tell me what she wanted to tell me for years. I told you so. But she didn't say it. She just kept sipping on her tea, sighing from time to time as she saw me slowly slouch on her couch, about to burst into tears again. Why don't you just say what you want to say? I spat out suddenly. Emma perked up as she heard those words come out of my mouth. She placed the teacup gently onto the table, not breaking eye contact the whole time. What do you mean? She asked innocently. I groaned slightly. You know what I mean. You know how much you want to rub in my face how you were right this whole damn time. I spat out, pointing my index finger at her in an accusing way. Emma was taken aback. It was almost as if she felt hurt that I would assume she would do something like that. Chloe, do you really need me to say that to you right now? Emma asked, her voice showing concern. You're already depressed enough as it is. I'm not going to make you feel even worse. I bit my tongue for a moment because she genuinely seemed surprised. She had always been so snarky. It was her thing to be an asshole when she was proven to be right. I imagined that in this situation she would have been as well. But now, her whole demeanor had changed. But you were right this whole time, I pointed out, stuttering. Emma raised an eyebrow, sipping on her tea again. So? What do you mean so? Chloe, you're literally broken into pieces. I'm not going to flaunt my amazing gut feelings. Not right now. I broke down crying again. The image of Michael and his young mistress in bed played in my mind over and over. My heart kept sinking, and I felt like it was never going to reach the bottom. Emma and I spent years apart because of Michael. She would tell me how she felt off about him, and I, in turn, would defend him with all my heart. I probably made her feel horrible when all she was doing was looking out for me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I sobbed, begging for forgiveness. Emma got up from her seat and sat down next to me, folding the couch blanket over me. She laid her head against my shoulder and caressed my arm. I couldn't control myself. I couldn't stop crying just thinking about the fact that everything I had done for Michael was done in vain. You know what? Tomorrow I'll pay Michael a little visit, take back everything that's yours. How does that sound? Between sobs, I felt a small smile showing.